Alright, here's the next part of the video. I noticed I made a mistake from my last video. What I was supposed to do was bring the mixture to a boil and then add the mushrooms and then simmer that for 20 minutes. And I found out that I forgot to add the mushrooms like about 5 minutes in. So I basically added the mushrooms off video and then let that cook. So it's been cooking for about another 20 minutes. So it's okay. It's still going to be fine, I'm sure. So anyway, this is the next part of the video. So on the recipe guide, step 5 is add the mushrooms and simmer for 20 minutes. So now we're on step 6. And step 6 says to mix the heavy cream. So I got my heavy cream. And we're gonna, you gotta mix it a certain way. So it says you gotta, you can't just dump this cream into the soup. You can't do it. Looks like I have a lot of liquid actually. It's gonna be to the brim if I add this stuff. I might have to have 2 separate pots. Which I might do. I think you know what? I recall doing this before, actually having a second pot. Because I made so much. But it's, you know, I'm gonna do a little. I'm thinking I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have 2 pots. So I'm gonna go ahead and heat that. Heat the rear one. So medium and medium. Okay. But the way to do it is you grab a bowl, and what you do is you put the soup into this bowl and then the heavy cream into the bowl. You mix that up and you pour it back in. Because what that will do is it prevents the cream from curdling, which means like if you were to pour this really cold mixture into this hot soup, it will like kind of like quench, and basically you'll have like it'll be kind of stuck together. Like the cream would actually crystallize and then become like chunks of cream as opposed to just blending in with the soup. So that's why you have to do this. So I'll show you, kind of zoom out a little bit so you can see. Let me reposition this so you can see what I'm going to be doing. Okay. So I need the other ladle. Where's the other ladle? Okay, here we go. So first I'm going to open up the cream. And I'm going to add all of this stuff in there, the whole thing. So, oh man, open this up. Shake it up nicely. Good. There it is. Now I'm going to grab some of the soup. Try not to get any of the onion, just the hot soup itself. Well, actually, you could get the onion. It doesn't matter. As long as you have some of the hot soup in this bowl. Like so. Then I'm going to add some of the cream in there. Just like that. And you kind of mix this in, like this. Maybe get a little bit more soup in there. Just kind of mix that in there. And pour it back. And then we mix it in like this. That sort of prevents the cream from curdling. There you go. And I know this pot's going to be super full. That's why I have my secondary pot over there. So do the same thing again. You just fill this up. That. And then pour a good amount of cream in there. And you keep, oh shoot, I got burnt. That hurts. But you keep repeating that until all the cream is in the pot. Now, since I'm going to do this split, it's not going to be that bad. I think the splitting it up is not going to really affect it. As long as I get most of the cream in here already, the ratio of what's going to be cooking over here versus over here, it's going to be fine. All right, so I'm just going to keep doing this. So the soup color is going to change. It's right now it's like this orangey, but it's going to get very, very light looking. Right now this is like orange still from the pumpkin, but this cream is going to really make it more almost yellowish with the orange and the cream together. Okay. Move this back. Gotta be careful. I don't want to burn myself again. Okay. Mix that. Mix that. There you go. It's a slow process, but if you do it any other way, if you do it the other way, just pouring it in, it's not going to be good. Since you know, whipping cream is cold, it has to be cold. It can't be room temperature. It's going to be spoiled. So it has to be cold. Kept cold like milk. Okay. So I'm going to put as much heavy whipping cream as I can in here until it gets too big. Maybe it might. I don't know. It's going to be close. But it's full. Okay. Second bottle, the bigger one. Repeat that process until it's all gone. And for those that have like tried this soup before and you're like, man, look at all that work. Like I do this every time. So this is definitely a labor of love to make this soup. That's then like this. Bam. Just like that. Okay. We're back. Put this in here. Mix it. And then mix it out. See that? Yeah. Okay. I think a couple more of these and then that'll be it. I think it's going to be fine. Maybe I'm not going to need that second one, but I was cutting it close. Look at that, to the brim on this thing. Okay. But I have cooked such big portions before where I actually had to do two pots. And you know, I think I've mentioned it before, I do have a tendency to cook for a lot more than what I should. But especially for this dish, I do cook a lot more because a lot more people eat it. And I eat it a lot. Especially when my sister was here. She loves this stuff. Okay. So you could see the soup is becoming way creamy, almost yellowish. No more of that orange. And this is the way it looks. It's almost there. And the fun part for me is to add the spices to this thing, and that's going to be the next step. But first we're going to need to just slowly ladle in this cream. Nice and easy. Like that. Okay. Let me see. Maybe one more bowl. One more pour. Okay. Nope, two more. Here. Maybe a little bit more soup. There you go. Yeah, I'm going to turn off the heat on the second pot. I might not need it. Oh, that was the front. Turn off the back. There. Keep that on medium. Now, it's not really good to cook this high to the bowl, but I will. It's a soup pot. You can, but ideally I'd like an inch clear at least from the top here. It's okay. Because the liquid could like boil over and make a mess. That's no good. But I got my eye on this thing. Really making it sure it's all good and the ratios are good. I won't really know until I start tasting it though. And you'll be surprised, like this is the baseline start of the soup, but really once you add like all the spices, which is going to be the next part, I've had like different tasting, like this soup has tasted different ways. Like I could make this batch on one Thanksgiving or New Year's or Christmas, and then one batch will be really good, another batch would just be okay. And it's because like maybe I messed up on the ratios. I mixed too much curry, or maybe too little cream. But if you follow that recipe to a T, it should be fine. But I think it's because I always make a lot more, so like I'll put, like double or 1.5 times, and then I might not have enough of one ingredient. I'm thinking, okay, it should be okay, but either way, it's going to be pretty good, pretty bomb. I'll know when I taste it too, while I'm adding the spices. Okay, and one more cream pour bowl thing, and this part will be done. All right, final one. Okay. All of this. So look at that color of the soup. It's now almost, it's basically a creamy yellow. And yeah, that's the way it is. That's the way it should look. The way it usually looks. That is a lot of soup, yes. But I'll be sharing it. Okay. That is the cream mixing part. Man. I am a little tired, but man, what is it? What time is it? Pretty late. It's okay, I promised I would do this. I'm making this for you guys. 'Cause this stuff's good. This stuff is really good for like the colder weather. hits the spot. It really does. Okay, so the creamy part is done, and so the recipe says, what does it say? The monitor keeps going up. Okay. Okay, so basically I have to start adding the spices. Let me fix this thing here. There. Okay. So the spices, which are, you know, curry powders and honey. No, that's not honey. This is honey. And pepper and salt. And some chili powder. Or cayenne pepper, which would be better, which I forgot to buy, but it's okay. So I'm going to add the curry first, and I'm going to add a lot of curry. Like, if this were a full bottle, I would probably use at least half the bottle. Maybe even 2/3 of this bottle. So I'm going to get the fresh curry. This one's been used a little bit, so I could use this. It's fine. Should be fine either way. But I'm going to use this new one. This Asian brand. Look at that. Wu Qian curry powder. Alright, so dump. I'm not even going to measure it. I'm just going to go bam. Pour that in there. Okay, that's half the bottle. I'm going to go with 2/3 of the bottle. But still more. Yeah. Okay, I'll start with that, 2/3, because that's about as much curry that I put in there. And I put also a decent amount of pepper. That's what I'll put next. Okay. So for the pepper, you could use pre-ground pepper. It's fine, like this stuff, like coarse ground, if you want. I'm going to use the one where it's freshly ground. And this thing's getting stuck on me. Yeah, this thing's breaking up on me. Ah, always happens. Okay, I'm gonna put some regular ground stuff. It's the same thing. I do prefer the grinder though, but those Costco grinders, sometimes they break on me. I should complain about that. Alright, so I'll just mix this in there. Pepper and curry so far. I'll be adjusting this a lot. This is a very taste-based recipe. It is. You could really alter it a lot, like I said. So, man, that curry is in clumps here. I'll break that up. Once this thing starts to simmer and boil, it'll do it on its own. But see all that floating? I'll break that up. Smashing it on the side is a good way. Yeah. Like that. See those bits? Smush. Yeah, I'm going to wait for it to kind of simmer a little bit, boil up. Wait for this pot to boil up again so the flavors can kind of mix together before I do a taste test on this. But in the meantime, I'll add the rest. So for the salt, I don't really add too much salt. I just put like a little sprinkle on the top. Kind of like that. Not as much as the other spices because you know, I'm not too keen on too much salt in soup. I think the other flavors of this soup is better than having too much salt in it. For the honey, I do like it sweet, but not too sweet. So this is fresh honey, so I need to open this up. Got this from Costco. Raw, unfiltered. L.R. Rice. This old man here. Local since 1924. Raw, unfiltered honey. Local. SoCal. Gluten-free product. 100% pure. It's 3 pounds honey. It's a lot. But I'm going to put a couple swirls like this. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Like that. That much. See how that tastes. Mix that in. And for the final spice, this is the initial part. The initial spice run is the chili powder. And I'm going to put in probably 4 dashes. Just a little bit. Not too much. If it's not spicy enough, I'll always add more. You could always do that. So I'm going to probably let this cook for a couple minutes, and then I'm going to taste it. Now the recipe does have it pre-labeled with tablespoon amounts for each spice. You could follow that and see how it tastes and adjust it how you want to. You know, if you're a spicy type of person, you add more curry. Like me, I like that spicy curry taste. I like it heavily, spicy curry taste. And I like pepper too. So a lot of pepper, a lot of curry for me. I also like it sweet, so I added quite a bit of honey, but I didn't really like that much salt. So you saw what I put in here. That's my taste, but definitely heavy on the curry side for me. So let's give this a try, and I'll adjust it accordingly. I always adjust it. I always do, because it's. Look at this curry stuck here, man. I don't want that clumps to be stuck like that. I kind of want this soup to boil. It's taking a while though. Or at least simmer, you know. So I don't want any more of those, because I want it to boil, because those clumps of curry could still be kind of pocketed together. But the boiling, once it boils, it will definitely break up those pockets. You saw what I pulled out there. Well, that was stuck here on the spoon. Whatever. Should be fine. Mixing it up so all those flavors are kind of well mixed into every part of the soup. All that honey, bottom, the spicy, and the sweet, all up in here. Okay. Wash that spoon. First taste test, right here. Too salty. And not enough curry. I'm gonna add more curry. Oh, I think I know why. The 2/3 thing was for one unit of that recipe. I'm cooking in 1.5 units, so I should probably dump in the third. I'll use this curry here. I'm gonna add a lot more curry again. Needs more. It's a little bland to me, so there you go. Another dump of that. Don't be shy. I'm not shy. Curry is the spice of life. You gotta live it up. I definitely want it to mesh though. And boiling's gonna help with that for sure. Once this whole pot heats up. Just want this curry to mix in there. Clumps like this. Okay. And it wasn't peppery enough either, so I'm going to add that next. And it wasn't sweet enough, so I'm going to add more honey next after the pepper. Yeah, this curry is really just in globs right here. Well, once it starts to simmer, it will break up. I'm just trying to do it quickly for the video. But it's fine. As long as that flavor's in there somewhere, it's gonna disperse. Okay. Definitely more pepper. I'm gonna add a nice amount of that too. I make this soup so you don't have to add anything to it when you eat it. Like, you know how some people add salt or pepper to their soup when they're in a restaurant or something. Me, I'm trying to make it so you don't have to add anything. Like, you eat it the way it is. That's the way it was, made. There you go. Pepper for days, man. All up in there. Okay. Stir it. Oh, I forgot to mention, for any kind of sauce or soup, you always got to stir it. My spaghetti sauce, I'm stirring that constantly. This soup, you got to stir it constantly. Especially on the phase when it was that 20-minute simmer between breaks. Remember that part of the video? You want to stir it because, there's the onions and there's the mushrooms in here while it's simmering. And if you're not stirring it, especially like near the bottom, kind of like rubbing the ladle on the bottom, your onions and your mushrooms are going to get stuck to the bottom. And I've done that once. I've actually done it once to the point where I forgot. I'm like, it was Christmas time. I was busy. Like, I don't know, I was wrapping gifts, or I think I was cooking at my sister's house. I think that was when I did it. And I forgot the soup on the stove. And it was on pretty high heat too. And all the onions got burnt, like black. At least the bottom layer of it. The top layer was fine, but you know how, like, once it's burned, it's like the flakes of the burnt part were all up in the soup. And it was a good batch too. I tasted it. I did this part of it. I just let it sit there too long, my sister still ate that anyways. I did too, but having all those black charred parts of the mushroom and the onion in there was terrible. It just ruined it. So some advice is always make sure you're stirring out the bottom of the soup. At least every 5 minutes or so that won't happen. As far as like burning the bottom. Anybody that cooks soups or sauces knows that happens to them. Happens to the best of us. Okay, and I'm gonna add honey next because I didn't think it was sweet enough. So I'm gonna put another swirl like this of honey. Big one. Bam. I'm going to turn the heat up to about medium-high. Just because I want this thing to heat up. It seems like it's not. It's not bubbling, at least. I should use the ladle with holes in it. That way the soup will... it's hot. the ladle was near a heat source, and these metal handles, being metal, was absorbing the heat. So when I picked it up, man, it's pretty hot. Okay. This will be better for sifting through the soup. Ooh. Just like that. Having fun with this. It's pretty enjoyable. A lot of work, but still enjoyable. Smash that guy. You see this? There's still curry bits. Curry balls stuck in here. I'm trying to capture them all. Pokeballs. Curry balls. Catch them all. Okay. Is this ready to taste again? Really mixing it well here. Hello, hello. Hello in. Okay, I think I want to taste it just to see where it's at. Okay. It's close. I'm telling you. Much better than that first bite. Man, it's right there. It's pretty darn close to where I like it. I would say just a splash more curry and a splash more pepper and a little bit more chili powder, and I think we'll be there. So I'm gonna add like did I say? So yeah, a splash of curry powder. Just, you know, like a little bit more like that. Just a little bit more like that. And this is my personal taste. I'm trying to make it to the as perfect as people remember it. And like a little splash more pepper like that. And I'll put the curry, I think a little bit more chili powder in there, definitely. So maybe 6 of these. There you go. 7 for good measure. Okay. Mix that again. Man, that was very close for that second round of spices there, I'm telling you. I like that. It's very creamy, very curry, but yeah, a little bit more curry. That pumpkin is just, it's kind of like a blend of everything in here, you know. And I'm not even eating the chunky parts. See, like in the bottom here, the soup, there's the chunks, like that, and that stuff's good, especially with the croutons when you're chewing on all that. Oh my god. Yes. Although I think I could have used a little bit more mushrooms. You know, I had a pound and a half. I think I put too much liquid. Whatever. You know, if I were to do this again, I'd probably double the size of the mushrooms, because the mushrooms is great. You can still eat the soup without it. It's still fine. Like, let's say we were eating soup and everybody ate up all the mushrooms. There was only soup left. The soup alone is still good. Oh yeah, but it's even better with a lot of mushrooms. And I think I don't know. This doesn't seem, the mushroom ratio to soup doesn't seem high enough to me. It's okay. I think I should put that in the note for my recipe, like the way I like to make it. I would just double, instead of like, what, I think the recipe calls for what, a pound of mushrooms? Or maybe 2 pounds of mushrooms? Whatever it is on the recipe, double that. That would be my advice. All right. So I'm just trying to mix up the adjustment here, so I could go for a third taste. But I want to make sure everything's kind of mixed in there before I taste it. You see it's starting to waft with the smoke because I turned up that heat. We don't want it boiling. I want it simmered. What's going to happen is, once I get this thing exactly the way I want it tasted, this initial part, what I want to do, the recipe says to do, is to let it simmer like that for 10 minutes, right? After you add your spices, simmer it for 10 minutes. What I'm going to do, if you read that recipe thing, it says, but you could actually heat it longer and let the flavors coalesce, which is exactly what I'm going to do. So after I get this to a point that I think it's exactly where I want it from a spice standpoint, I'm going to put the heat to about a simmering point. So there's just a light bubbly, like a light cauldron, light bubble, not like, like Mount St. Helens or Mount Pinatubo status. I'm talking like a slow simmer, like a sauna, like a jacuzzi bubble. Anyway. So, okay, this looks pretty mixed in together. Looks good. Color looks good. I'm not happy about the mushroom ratio. I'm not sure why. I used the same amount. I just forgot. I think I remember at one point I added more mushrooms on purpose, because I think I cooked it I cooked it on a Thanksgiving, and then I cooked it immediately for Christmas, and I think I'm like, oh, I remember that the mushrooms were too low on that Thanksgiving one. Okay, look at this, it's boiling. So I'm like, I added more mushrooms for that Christmas one, and it turned out great. So I think I just forgot to add the mushrooms, but it's okay. So you can see here it's boiling. So I'm going to lower the heat to see like a medium low. Is that bubbling? It's bubbling. I like that. The bubbling is... Yeah, turn the heat. There you go. See that? I want it like that. Low, steady bubble. Okay. I turned the heat down. I don't want that to go cray-cray on me. Okay. I think it's time for the third taste test. I'm going to wash my tasting spoon for the hygiene. Look at that. It's pretty. Okay. Let me just... I want to get a good sample. Mix, mix, mix. Okay. There. Oh yeah. Yeah. I think that's it. Let me just get a little bit, let me taste that one more time. Pretty darn good. It's right there. Just want to make sure. Yep, it's there. That's it. That's what I'm talking about. It's pretty good. I'm gonna leave it right there. I think I'm happy with that. That's a certified, approved pumpkin mushroom soup. That's the way I've made it before. Man, I've been making this for how long now? I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years. And it's good stuff. So, okay, now what I'm going to do is I think this is pretty much the end of the soup video, because what you could really do with this, you could cook this for like another 4 hours on low, on like on a what do you call those things? The pot, the I'm gonna brain fart right now. Well, anyway, the cooking pot, or that, you know, whatever you, the ceramic bowl thing, and you can slow cook it for a long time. You could cook it in there, which I have, or you could cook it here on the stove like this, on like a low heat setting, which is what I'm gonna do for like an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, that long. I'm gonna cook this like on a low simmer heat, constantly stirring it like at least every 15 minutes for another like hour at least, maybe 2 hours. Not sure how long. Probably an hour at least at the minimum. Because what that does is it's just basically making all that flavor just swim and mix in there. Also, it makes the soup thicker, because you are kind of losing a lot of the water content because of the heat, which I like. I like a thicker soup, and this soup definitely does get thicker after you boil it or simmer it for such a long time, especially when you also reheat it. Like sometimes I'll put this all in the fridge, and then in a, you know, the next day I'll reheat it in a big pot like this, and the soup, it tastes better the second day, you know. It kind of does. I'll tell you, like, as time goes on, it does have a shelf life of maybe, you know, 3 or 4 days tops. Maybe 5 days is pushing it, but like as the time goes, like on the third day of this soup, it just gets better. Like every time you like reheat and eat it. So it's one of those things that I'm a big believer that, like, it's the longer you do cook it on slow heat, especially this soup, the better it's going to taste. And it tastes really good right now. And this is like the fresh part of it. This is like the early part of the soup, but I'm going to go ahead and slow cook this for a long time. So the next part of the video, anyway, I'm not going to show that entire part on the video of me slow cooking this thing and finishing it up. You could pretty much picture that. I'm not going to alter this anyway. It's just more of a heating process now from this point. But I mean, for all intents and purposes, this soup is ready to eat right now. You could eat this right now, but I'm not going to eat it right now because there are things that I want to add to it. Like I said in the early part of the video, I said I was going to add some croutons, and I'm going to be baking those. So that'll be on the next part of the video. It's more of a supplementary video to this one. But I think if you don't make the croutons for this thing, you're missing out, because part of the experience of the soup is to have those croutons in there. And also on the recipe, if you did read it, it says also not only do you add the croutons, but you also add sour cream and chives. And I, you know, I personally don't have the chives or the sour cream right now. I purposely, intentionally didn't buy it. For one reason is because I'm kind of watching what I'm eating. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of butter in here, but I'll be eating this, yes. But I mean, the sour cream, I'm going to hold off on the sour cream. But it is better. This whole thing is better with the soup, with the croutons, the sour cream, and the chives. And you mix that and you eat that. That's the best version of this thing. I'm just toning it down a little bit for myself. So I'm actually, I might buy some sour cream if my mom comes and tastes this, which I'm going to ask her to come and taste this. And I might even take a video of her tasting this soup, this batch right here, and I'll ask her to give her opinion on how this is. I think that would be kind of a fun idea to have somebody at least describe it aside from myself. So I'm going to try this one more time just to make sure. I was very happy with that third taste. But I'm going to double check. heat's too low. Medium low. It's not really boiling yet. Or simmering, I should say. Yep. Yeah, that's it. I think I'll leave it like that. Okay, anyway, that concludes the soup portion of the video. Very long videos. If you watch this whole series, this whole thing, thank you very much for watching it. But, you know, this is great for the winter time, and it's really good. And I suggest you give it a shot on cooking it. And, hey, if you want to try it from me, just give me a holler and we'll set that up. All right. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye. Hey guys, this is the last part of the recipe in regards to the pumpkin mushroom soup, and I'm going to be making the croutons. And so these are essential for making the soup complete to me. So what it entails is basically a loaf of French bread, some pure olive oil, and some rosemary, and I'm going to add some Old Bay. And I also might add a little bit of some salt too, just a little bit. But so it's basically a French bread. You could buy this fresh at any grocery store. They should have it in their bakery aisle. I had some last night for the soup, just to taste it, and it was really good. All right, so basically we're going to slice up the bread into small rectangular cubes. So just grab a knife and just start cutting through it. Just cutting slices. Alright, I make usually a stack of 3 or 4. Alright, maybe two at a time. And then I'll cut them lengthways, maybe a couple times. And then grab that bunch and just cut them kind of this way. Just like that. Throw them in a pretty decent sized bowl like this, because we're going to be mixing up some liquids with the bread. I mean, I've never tried to like use any other croutons besides homemade croutons with this soup. I would imagine it would be good with other kind of croutons, but these croutons are good. You can make these croutons for any salad. I bet you it would go good with any salad, so it doesn't have to be for this soup, but there we go. This time it's three stacks. Okay. Grab all that. Go. Sometimes they'll bunch up like this. You just gotta, they break apart eventually. Okay. Almost done. Just gotta chop these. Lengthwise. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm making these croutons pretty much the day after I made the soup, just because I was too tired last night to make it. But I guess we're just you guys are just watching this in order, I suppose. Ooh. Almost there. This. All right. There you have it. Oh, not this guy. Corner. Okay, that's good enough. Okay, so you have a bowl here. And we're gonna go ahead and mix in the olive oil. We're gonna lightly coat this with the olive oil. So let's just go ahead and put let's start with a couple caps full. Okay, maybe 3. I might be putting more, but basically all the bread has to have a light coating of it. And you'll see as the olive oil kind of mixes in here, the bread should have like a light gloss to it, slightly colored with the olive oil, lightly coated with it. Okay, this is good for now. I just want to get it an initial coating. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grind my rosemary, because this rosemary came intact. I have a mortar and pestle here. And this thing's handy for making salsa or grinding peppercorns or whatever, especially rosemary. So I'm going to go ahead and put a nice amount of rosemary in there and just swirl it around in a circle. And that rosemary just disintegrates. It smells good already. Okay. Grab all that rosemary and just dump it in there. Mix it up. Could use more rosemary, which I will do. So we'll put a lot in there this time. There we go. Grind up some more. You don't have to like hit it like some other things. Sometimes I'm smashing things in here by smashing it down, but rosemary, no, you just kind of put it in a circle, it will grind itself up. There we go. Put put a lot more this time, so it's taking longer. This is also, rosemary is pretty good for steaks as well. Okay, I'll dump that in here. Good. Put a little bit more olive oil, maybe a couple more caps. Okay. Now I'm going to put also some Old Bay. Okay, that looks pretty good. Just mix that. Usually the sauce or the all those seasonings are kind of near the bottom of the pot, so kind of make sure you get at the bottom and work your way up. You could see the croutons have like a coating now, like a nice coating of the Old Bay and rosemary. And I'm going to go ahead and throw in just a little bit of salt, just a dash. There we go, just a light coating of that. Okay. Mix it in. And I sometimes in the past I've actually over coated the croutons with oil, and it's okay if you do that, but because this is basically going to be put in the oven, the toaster oven. You can put it in a regular oven if you want, but this should fit a toaster oven fine for a whole loaf. And I'll go ahead and do that right now. Show you guys. So I'm going to put on your toaster oven cooking tray, just put a piece of wax paper. You could put foil, but foil I tend to see problems because like sometimes it gets stuck to it. So I prefer wax paper. And just spread it all in an even layer. Ideally you'd want it like one layer, but I kind of like it just piled on here like this and spread out like this. This way, like when you do the toaster oven, set it to about 325 degrees for about 30 to 35 minutes, basically until the croutons are golden brown. So this is what I want to throw in there. So like at about the halfway point, I mix it all up again. So like basically a lot of the croutons at the top are gonna get burnt, and then toasted, and then the ones on the bottom will still be soft. So I take the whole thing out about halfway through the 30 minutes, mix it all up, put it back on the tray again, and then bake it for another 30 minutes. So that's going to be the steps to make these croutons, and that's it. It's as simple as that. Just mix it up with the olive oil, seasonings, stick it in the oven for 30 to 35 minutes till it's like golden brown. And these will be crunchy, and when you add it to the soup, the crunchiness and the soupy softness is just gonna mix well. It's gonna be amazing. So I'll go ahead and put this in the oven, and then I'll be back to show you what it looks like afterwards. Okay. And we're back. So I toasted it for about 35 minutes, almost 40, and I did a couple of mixes there in between the whole 40 minutes, and it comes out looking like this. Just like that. Has a little rosemary in there, and they're crunchy and kind of soft, a little crunchy soft. Yeah, and you could cook them longer, make them like way more crunchier, and they're better crunchy. So yeah, you get a whole hot bowl of soup, grab a handful of these, sprinkle it on top, add some sour cream if you want, or some chopped green onions, and you got yourself a pretty nice bowl of soup. Pumpkin mushroom soup. Well, that's it. Thanks for watching, and yeah, enjoy. Okay, bye.